All right, welcome into the half, everybody. My name is Aaron Montgomery with our success group. This fine gentleman right here, I'm doing the workout thing here, like that way to the gym. This is Mr. Erich Campbell. He is muted currently, but he is ready to talk to you. You can find him at erichcampbell.com.
Yes, indeed. I'm here.
Eric, how exhausted are you after all that work you just did?
I don't know. It's about the same as a normal show, but we had a pretty, let's say, an adventurous show over at the Two Other Guys because we had five guests on at the same time. That was something. Takes a little production to get done, but it worked all right. It was nice.
There you go.
Managed to get in a good show and honestly heard a lot about Printing United, and it was really cool to hear more from those folks and have them clear some stuff up. Had Josh Guruth on, Cassie Green from the Apparelist, and also, of course, we had Jed, and we had, like I said, Thomas was on there, Brett was on there. So we had people representing all sorts of different segments, from the speakers to the partners to the vendors. So it was really cool to have them on and get that kind of new insight. So good stuff.
Yeah, it was a great show, and
Hmm.
yeah, we never never had that many people on at one time before, but
I don't think so. I think seven total's probably the top, but we've gotten pretty close doing the certainly doing our
the
women
women,
in garment
yep,
decorating kind of segment that we do quarterly. That has been, that we sometimes have like five on, but I think seven is probably our limit, and that pretty good. Pretty good.
yeah,
Personal
definitely
best,
pretty good.
right? It
Yeah,
worked
for
all
sure.
right. I didn't manage to do all of the production stuff I would have liked to being on screen, but hey, that it turned out okay.
Yeah, way better than Terry would have done. I'm just saying.
Terry's the talent. He doesn't produce, man.
That's
That's
right.
just
That's
that's
right.
that's the thing. When you're just the
Yeah,
talent, that's all you got to do.
yeah. There you go. All right, Christy. Good afternoon. Thank you for
Yes. Good
being
afternoon,
here.
Christy. Happy to have you in.
And Mark,
Mark is in.
good
Good
morning to
morning.
you, sir.
We have Mike Inns. Hey, what's digging? I like that. That's a good. It's a
That
new one
is a
on
good one.
me. Um, Digging myself a hole is how I feel. But hey, I
Yeah,
think
some days
that's
digging
a lot
myself a
of
hole.
us, right?
That's right. And then Cindy King. Good morning. Thanks for being here, Cindy. All right, you
Yes,
guys. So
indeed.
we're already 2 minutes in. We want to get right into this, right? We want to get right into what questions you guys have. What are you
Yes,
looking to
indeed.
have discussions about? But the other thing, I'm going to keep doing this until we really kind of get a groove with this.
All
I
right. All
want
right.
to know. It's been a week since the half last time, right? It's what happens when you do a show every week. A week happens between.
True.
What
True.
did you accomplish this last week? It can be anything. There's a no judgment zone here at all. It can be
All
what
right.
you might think is too small or what you might think is too big, right? Let go of that stuff. Let go of the ego. What did you accomplish this week? So, Eric, I get to start with you.
Yeah, I had a bad feeling about that.
I know. I could tell you were trying to
it's a,
like hide
no,
off camera
it's a
there.
rough week. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough week. So I had a lot going on. That it was, some stuff unplanned, some stuff planned. It just is how it is. What I think was interesting for me, at least, something that's just I kind of like that made me happy was had to make some designs that are going to be given away shortly over on the Brilliant side of the world, and I drew some stuff by hand, which I don't do
Cool.
much now. It's super simple stuff. I am not an artist or a designer properly, but I did some sketching, some light sketching, and made a couple of cool patches. So I did actually sketch and put together some really simple patches. It's supposed to be kind of for kids, for fun stuff for Halloween. So I got to
Very
do
cool.
two things I really love, which is sketch up some stuff, make my own designs. I got to digitize something that was just random. It wasn't, no expectations, no customer involved, aside from, of course, the 100,000 users of Brilliance. So yeah, maybe no customers, but lots of people underneath it. And,
Yeah.
and I got to do something fun, which is little skulls. So yeah, if you like
Awesome.
cutesy skulls with fun emoticon style, emoji style expressions, you're going to get a few of those for free from us shortly that I drew myself.
There
So
you go.
it's a goofy thing to be kind of like my accomplishment for the week. But
No, that's a
because I
great
don't always
accomplishment.
get to design stuff for myself, it was fun to get to stop and just
Yeah.
get out the brush pens and do some sketching from from samples. Of course, it is
There you
always
go.
fun to have your wife walk in behind you and go, why are you looking at a page full of anatomical skulls? And I'm like, well, I'm drawing a cartoon skull, but I need some reference while I'm sketching.
That's cool. Awesome.
But I
Well,
digitized a lot of skulls, folks.
there you go. There you go. Well, you're far too humble, sir. And as Cindy said here, I'm sure it's
Oh,
fantastic. Lisa says
cute.
good morning, and
Oh,
you are a
thank you, Lisa.
tremendously
Yeah,
talented
Lisa
artist.
got to see him, so thank you. Those were
Good,
fun.
good, good, good. And I agree. Seeing the stuff that you do, you say I'm not a art baloney. You're an artist, bro. You're doing good stuff.
Uh,
So congrats
I
on
can
that.
get along
Come on.
when I have to.
We're going to celebrate that, Eric. Come
how
on.
it is.
I'm not going to let
Okay.
you off the hook here.
Pat my
There you go.
my bone
Thank you.
back.
That's,
Thank you.
There we go. All right, Ramona, this is awesome.
Nice.
Celebrate Ramona here. I'm learning more and more of how to use the functions and features of Affinity graphics software.
Yep, I'm a big Affinity
Awesome.
user. I have to say, there sometimes stability on lots of big graphics in the photo one gets me, but for design, especially Affinity Designer, boy, I do love using that.
Good.
That is a go-to. Still love Corel, still love Illustrator, know how to use them, but when I'm just trying to get somebody who's starting out, kitted up, man, Affinity is the way to get them, on board and doing good vector.
Getting them going. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
love it.
All right. Mike says, I figured out how to make military padded patches, still refining details, but got the process down that will scale to large production. Nice.
I
Awesome.
want to know more.
Yeah, definitely.
I personally want to know more. I won't tell anybody else. Let's talk about that.
There you go.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, it sounds like really hard work, but it sounds like rewarding work.
There you go. I love it. Love it.
Yes.
And then Cindy says, I won a blue ribbon at the county fair on a blue jean jacket. I use elements from Joanne Banco's Just Jackets collection. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love that. I've seen a couple different people doing
celebration.
fairs. I know a good friend of mine also from Minnesota did the same thing. Commercial embroiderer went and did her own artistic piece and got it in her county fair. And I love that stuff. I think that's the thing. I think some of us get too hung up over where we're displaying this stuff as if that's not cool, as if people didn't judge it and like it, as if they didn't get to take a look at it. I mean, wherever you are showing your work, that's awesome. So very cool. Love it. Doesn't always have to be on a show floor for it to be valid, guys. It's cool.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very cool. Cindy, good job. And Ramona says, Mike, that's awesome. Cindy, Mike, wow.
Nice. I know, totally, man.
Yep.
Mike's doing great work.
Yep. All right. Christy says, lots of design and mock-ups done. I'm an Affinity user also. 5 Keys marketing training is going great this week, and I'm so much further in my business plan than I've ever could have imagined. So awesome, Christy. Good job by you.
Yes.
Way to
let's celebrate.
Great work.
Come on, everybody is putting in the work this week. That is awesome to hear. Thank you guys for sharing too. So, yes.
And then Cindy, you're very welcome.
God, love to see more of that stuff always. Plus, I kind of tell people if you're into the decorating world, like we want to see the stuff. We're still excited about it. Like we want to see your samples. We want to see what you're doing. It's always cool. Yep. So good work, everybody.
Keep posting it out there, showing it off.
Hey, I'm going to say good work, Aaron, because, hey, 5 Keys marketing training, that sounds like something you worked on. So I think that might be a win for you. It looks like you inspired Christy some, and I think that's a big win.
Oh, it's a huge win. People like Christy are the reason that every morning I wake up and I go, oh, my God, I am so freaking lucky to be able to do what I do.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah,
so what's your personal win, man?
That's my personal win. The 5 Keys of Marketing tonight we will wrap up the last of it, and then we've got our implementation call next week. But very well received. I'm very impressed and very excited to see all the work that people have done. We intentionally kind of like threw a massive amount at them saying, hey, do all this, right? And just do it. Just don't think about it. Do it. And what's happened is people have really started building that momentum and moving forward. And so there was a method to the madness, so to speak, right? It's that old analogy of drinking water through a fire hose. But what happened is they started drinking. Right? They started getting some water in finally. And so, yeah, Chuck, thank you very much. I appreciate that. He says training has been off the chain this week. So that definitely win. I'm super proud of that.
That's great, dude.
I knew it was going to go well. I mean, I had good feelings about it because, we've been developing it for a while. But to see this level of excitement from people, people like Chuck and Christy, they're already doing the work. And so the fact that I can help them move a little bit further forward is really gratifying. So thank you. All right. Cindy's got a question for us, Eric.
All right.
Nope, no dumb questions, so we'll skip that part.
Absolutely no.
Why, if you are making a patch for a cap, would you just not go ahead and direct sew on and do like an applique? So, Eric?
There's a couple reasons. There's multiple reasons, and I'm not going to have them all. Here are a couple of reasons that I know people decide to use caps for patches, or patches for caps in general. A couple different things. Number one, some people really like the look. There's this kind of retro look where they want the free edge, right? They want the edge to be loose. So a stitched on patch, even one that's heat pressed, has a dimension because of that loose free edge on it that has a real classic look. It harkens back to the old school caps. If you think about kind of where embroidery on caps started, the first caps I know that I have embroidered that are commercial style caps are kind of like the giveaway caps. We also call them like the seed corn hats, the
Yeah.
farmer's hats. And those were a classic big fine panel cap that had a big rectangular patch sewn on it. Part of it, they're evoking that look. They want that look.
Okay.
You look at the stuff from like Aaron Draplin. He's got a huge proponent of this big kind of free edge cap, patch on a cap. Second reason, because sometimes can be really hard to decorate the full height on a hat or to get through a seam. So people will use they will either sew on, using a post bed machine, whatever, or they will heat press a cap that is hard to decorate. So they can get a large exposure, or even if it's just that the cap's hard to decorate in general, there are people who would rather put a cap on it or a patch on the cap so that they only have to sew around the edge, or they can heat press it on if they have the appropriate, heat press material, and they can do that. So that's one of the reasons are usually aesthetic. They want it to look like a patch legitimately, which yes, an applique looks similar to a patch, but the free edge kind of makes a difference to some people. Can certainly, you could do like a simulated marrow edge like we have in Stitch Artist 3, or like Jeff, who's usually on here, makes his own with motifs. You can do a simulated patch edge through the fabric, but it's not going to have that free loose edge that a patch has, that dimension.
Cool.
Certainly the second part, like I said, technical, so that you can decorate either on patches that are hard to, or on caps that are hard to decorate, or you can use heat press. And the third or fourth kind of part of that is a little technical, a little bit business related, is that you can have patches made that have heat seal material on them and then have heat adhesive material on them, and we can press the same patch in multiple locations if the size is good. Now, I'm not a big logo slap person who wants the same thing on everything, but some people will do they will do pressing the same patch on a shirt and on a hat, and they can have a mass number of patches together and just decorate whatever garment comes in. And that means they don't have to worry about it. And if you're a heat press person, not an embroidery person, you don't have any capacity for stitching, you can either order or have patches made, and then you can use them on everything and you can press them in place. So I think those are all there, and I think that's kind of part of it.
Yeah. Cindy's follow up here.
So yes, you say you still have a tack on global underlay and sew around it. The people who are doing it like that, you're sewing around the inside of the marrow edge. There's still a free edge. There's more of a free edge, and there's still more shadow underneath it than there would be on an applique.
Gotcha.
If you look at one that, even if it's heat tacked down, there's just still more shadow under it, and you can see the wrapped edge on it. Like I said, it's an aesthetic thing. It's an aesthetic choice when you're doing it like that, but a lot of people do it for technical reasons too.
Cool. There you go. And then Mike says, Cindy, all the reasons Eric mentioned, plus I can heat press a patch to a cap way faster than fumbling around with caplique and all the challenges that process comes with. And then Cindy says, I'm making the patch also. So
yeah. Yours don't have a free edge. I'd have to see what you mean by, okay, free edge doesn't mean big, loose, floppy edge. It just means there's a little bit of a shadow and the edge is sticking up on top of the cap rather than being stitched flat. An applique looks smooth to the surface on the edge, relatively smooth, whereas a patch is going to have a big, thicker edge. I mean, like I said, it's a choice, and it depends on what kind you're doing. Whenever I'm sewing patches on, I'm sewing on the inner edge of the border. So if the border is this width, I'm sewing on the inner edge of that border, so it has a little bit of a looser edge.
Gotcha.
It really, like I said, you may have more or less, and if you're someone who's sewing right down the middle of that edge, or if you're doing a tack down that goes over the entire edge, you can eliminate that to some degree. I think mostly a lot of it's aesthetics, a lot of it's that when it comes to if you're going to do either one, but tons of people do them so they can apply easier. Mike's absolutely right on that. Heat pressing is really fast, and also, like I said, it lets you stock things up, especially if you are someone who's outsourcing. Lots of us will outsource a larger number of patches than we would run in-house, keep them on the shelf, and then we're doing just-in-time decoration of hats when they need some, rather than bringing in a ton of blank stock or doing larger pieces. So just depends. Yeah, it depends on it. I think, and like I said, free edge doesn't mean big floppy edge. It just means you can see the edge of the patch stands up above the surface somewhat.
Got it.
And there are tons of people who do applique instead because they prefer it, especially if they have things like laser on board on bridge. I can imagine that's an easier way to do applique for sure compared to sticking stuff on and holding it down. But just depends.
Okay. And then Cindy says Justin provides a tack with the patch setup. Okay, awesome.
Cool.
I think we covered it. I mean,
pretty much.
Sounds obviously. Here's the layman's. I don't know a whole lot about an embroidery take, right? That newbie perspective that sometimes can be valuable. Is it sounds like it's more a matter of preference. It's obviously depending on what your process
Yeah.
is and what your looks that you're going for. But there is potential to save time. There is potential to, But on the flip
Oh
side of
yeah.
it, if you're making the patches yourself and all that other stuff,
Well,
I,
and
I can see both
certainly
sides.
if you have a hat where the seam is horrible, um, even if you're doing the global underlay and the tack, it's a lot less stitching through the seam
Mm.
than if you were doing a full design through the seam. Let's
Oh,
say you're
that's a
doing
good point.
small text or detail in the middle of a seal that's on a patch, jamming that through the dead center of a 6-panel hat that has a heavy seam, that's a
Uh,
lot more potential for breakage and issues with quality. Whereas an applique would help with that, but you're still jamming the needle through all that material and causing deflection, stuff like that. Whereas you could make the patch and have all the detail of the patch
mm.
ahead of time and then do that. And actually, I'll add one last thought to
Ooh,
this.
I like that.
One last thought. The other potential is that you can have a different decoration process. Now, you're making the patches yourself, so I know that's a different call and that's a different thing. But if you're talking about this in a global sense with what everybody does with patches, you
Yeah.
may also be using a woven patch. So we're doing something where we're having it made. Obviously, we're having this made by a mill that's making these things. We're having a woven patch with fine details. They're flatter, but they do have incredibly fine details in them. Woven patch can be used on a hat, and it's a different look. Leather patch can be used. Uh, you know, there's a million other kinds of patches.
Yeah.
There's all the dimensional patches that are possible. Those things are all other ways we can do it. Or as Aaron knows, sublimation. We could also be doing sublimation. Now, applique could also be done the same way. You can do sublimated applique, you can do sublimation, and you can do woven materials as appliques as well. But if you're having them produced and edged so that they can be used for multiple different processes or multiple different placements, heat pressing those suckers on or doing a quick tack down is just a little bit less interaction, depending on the kind of hat you have. So
Yeah.
lots
Yeah.
of reasons, but you
Nice.
never know.
Yeah. There we go. Well, Mike, it's
I love
actually
that.
15 minutes, so I am a pro.
Yep. Aaron does have 15 whole minutes of embroidery experience, so he does have
and
something
and
to
let me
say.
clarify what embroidery experience meant. It meant I actually took a magnetic hoop and put something in it, and then I set it on a machine that somebody had already set up for me, and then I pushed the button, go. Oh, I did also type the text into the software.
That's
So,
more than a lot of folks have who still have opinions on how you should do it.
and I still have
I
no
shouldn't have
clue
said
what I
that.
did.
I
No,
shouldn't
that's
have said
good.
that.
That's good. All right.
Yep.
Lyndon, whoops, I hit the
Yep.
wrong button there. Good morning, and thanks for being here.
Yes. Good morning, and thank you for
All
being
right.
here. Yeah, and City says that's a good point too. It is a get 100 caps / patches done ASAP. Might heat press. They have a beautiful full border. Yeah, Jeff does great borders. Like I said, there's lots of ways you can get a faux marrow border. Jeff does good ones. He makes those himself, and he takes a great deal of craftsmanship doing them. We have automated versions of Brilliance that you can make either with Stitch Artist 3 or with our Merrily product. There's a lot of ways to get a great border, and sometimes making some cool custom edge patch is cool. It's just the way people like it. And like I said, the other thing is coordination. You offer a patch setup where you put it on a hat for people, but then they want a spare patch to either put on their own hat later or to have on other gear. It's just a real versatile way to go. And like I said, setting up and ordering a ton of them and then having them stacked and ready for a customer that you service all the time. I've done that, and I think it's incredibly useful. And it kind of puts us in that same place with what Mike said. You can just go fast. It's
Yeah.
just in time decoration, and it also just lets you be really versatile because you can apply a patch to just about anything.
Yeah.
It's just a real versatile thing to have around. I love patches, but hey,
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that
not a
sounds really
patch and
cool.
pin collector guy myself. So guys like Jeff knows a lot about that, because they're patch and pin collector dudes. They know a lot and they have a lot of
Yeah.
experience with patches like that. But as a decorator and having used them a lot, I am a big proponent of patches.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ramona says, and Aaron, you did a fantastic job doing it. Thank you guys. I really
Hey,
appreciate you making
your
me feel good
fingers are
today.
all intact. No blood was spilled,
No blood was spilled.
and you didn't ruin the garment. So
That's right. That's right. And my wife still wears the jacket to this day. So
Hey, did the was it puckered, or did you
no,
hoop
I think
it
it
good?
actually looks pretty good. So there you go.
You're doing
Now,
better than a lot of us, my man.
I do have to give a ton of credit
Yes,
to Katie Wubin. Right,
absolutely.
she was a fantastic teacher. B probably took care of the hard part of it for me. So
Also allowed you to touch her equipment. So
right.
this is the other thing. Allowed you to touch her embroidery machines.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
always worth a thank you for that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So thank you, Katie.
Yes, indeed. Thank you,
All
Katie, for
right.
helping my friend
Yep.
get his
Definitely.
embroidery feet wet.
That's right. Now you don't have to, you don't have to look down upon me so badly anymore, Eric. So.
Oh, I never did.
So Mike says, I
I love
collect
this.
Fallout patches. Granted, they're all made by me, but it's unique. So there you go. All right.
I have flawed patches once again within
Uh,
range of my person right now that I've made
yeah.
myself.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, like I said, not a huge collector. What I will say I do love, and this is in general, I love all manner of ephemera. And I don't know, Aaron, if you kind of have heard me talk about this. I love all manner of like printed ephemera, or very much like the stuff Aaron Draplin's always showing stuff, like old school promotional products, coin purses from, old brands that don't exist anymore. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my entry to that. Is I love old corporate stuff. For some reason, like an old business logo patch, an old patch off of a mechanic's shirt from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Those things, I love that stuff. I
That's
always
cool.
have loved that stuff. So it's kind of just a thing that just the little design ephemera, the little icons and logos and things that we kind of use in a utilitarian way around the world. I love that stuff. So I
Yeah.
I, I tend to collect that kind of stuff. So I'm not. It's not like I'm trying to collect cool new stuff. It's more like I would just love to get somebody's weird like dealership patch from the 70s from their from their cap. I just like that stuff. I can't
That's
help myself.
cool. I like that. That's very cool.
I don't
Well, there you
collect a
go.
lot. I don't actively collect it, but when I come across that stuff or go, if you've ever been in, antique shops or
Yeah.
stuff like that, I do
Yeah.
love to see that ephemera, the design ephemera,
Yeah.
the little bits and pieces of design that follow us around. I love it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, Mike was talking about the collection that he has, and
Yeah.
this is not just an embroidery thing. So, I have these pen holders, which were supposed to be coffee mugs, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
uh, so many of these that didn't quite make the cut that now end up as pen holders. Pretty much every desk, every kind of workstation around anywhere in the house, there's some mug on it that if you looked hard enough, you could see why it didn't. Yeah,
Oh no, I think all of us collect rejects.
that's right.
Unfortunately, that's the thing I often do because, as we always say, it's kind of like the old saying is the carpenter's wife has no cabinets. There's a bunch of those. The cobbler's wife has no shoes.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I have no good samples. I bring my sample kit. Everybody oohs and ahs over my samples that I bring with me, and a good portion of those have a small error in them because the real one went out to a customer or went somewhere else. But I always keep those.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Cindy says great recovery. Um,
Right.
I'm having a day, so
Right.
good stuff. All right, you guys. Well, questions, Cindy. Thanks for getting us started down that road.
Yeah. Thank
Anywhere
you.
else that we need to do?
Ramona, you got Ramona's
Yeah,
comment. We have to bring that in.
yeah,
I
yeah.
have 32 pen holders. My attempt at sublimation. Yeah, let me tell you, this is something I'll have to admit. Early sublimation attempts at Black Duck, we had a whole lot of ghosted garments.
Yeah.
A whole lot of garments with ghosting on them, and I still don't think if I went to go sublimate shirts right now, I would have the fear in me right now of the ghosting on the shirt because we
Yeah.
had a lot of trouble early on.
Yeah. Apparel is actually one of those things. Apparel and soft goods are actually
They're
the
hard.
hardest things you can do for sublimation. I mean, obviously you guys know I'm a lover of the process,
Yeah, yeah.
but boy, I would think twice about really kind of focusing on shirts as in that space. Not people do it and do very well with it, but not
Yeah.
only do you have that ghosting thing that you got to kind of work through, you've got the transfer borders that will show up, right, if you don't have your pressure exactly right and all
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff, and
big
all the
time.
little tricks out there to kind of make that stuff go away. It just band-aids, right? Ultimately, the right pressure is what's going to work, but you have to dial that in,
Hmm.
and moisture will affect things differently. Like you were talking about sublimating patches. I
Yeah,
always
yeah.
hated sublimating patches because they move so much during the heating process that no matter how well you kind of set it up, you can still get ghosting pretty easily. So,
Yeah, patches can be a little difficult. We learned how to do it eventually with using templates, and that's how we ended up doing it. We would literally have a cardstock template with cutout slots for the patches that kept them in place, but
yeah,
didn't affect the pressure. That was as good as it got sometimes, or they would literally all be taped to a sheet. That is how that would
gotcha.
be too, taped to a sheet. Every
Uh-huh.
single one had a small piece of heat tape somewhere attached to
Yeah,
it to hold them down, because that's
yeah.
just how it went, or stuck
Yeah,
down
you
with
definitely want to do the
adhesives.
I've
Spray
had it
tack
where
too.
even with the heat tape you get ghosting
Oh
because
yeah.
of the
Oh yeah.
shrinkage that happens. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
no, and preheating all that stuff. But yeah, it can be difficult. One one of the favorite ways I have of doing that is to edge the patches post. We would sublimate the material ahead of time and then
Oh,
edge them
nice.
post,
Okay.
and that was always nice. And even when you're doing on machine embroidery edge patches, you can pre sub the material. My only thing is I used to pre-cut before sub. I know that with more computer vision on cutters where they can do better registration, maybe you'd want to
Hmm.
post cut, but either way, you're still dealing with shrinkage. So for me, adjusting for that, having enough slop in the border, and then pre-cutting before I would sub.
Yep.
We still cut them in sheets, but we like the entire sheet of the material was still there, but I
Mhm.
would have the die lines pre-cut. So
There you go.
it's there is adjustment to be had. It's
Oh,
hard
absolutely.
because the color is great, the durability is incredible, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to sublimation where I understand why people do other methods of transfers these days. I do get it, even
Yeah.
though I still do
But
love sublimation.
that actually
And for
leads.
hard goods, of course, it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And that actually leads into kind of this other thought too, because you were just talking about, the patches, and then you
Yeah,
set this
yeah,
up and you get the dialing, you figure out all this stuff. I think the people that really struggle with this is like, oh, well, I'm going to try this thing today, and then I'm going to try this thing today. You need to get in to figure out what your core products are, because then
yeah,
you
yeah.
can have that, yeah, you might mess up some at the beginning. Me with coffee mugs, I can make coffee mugs. I mean, in my sleep, I've got the technique down to where it's fast, it's easy, don't ruin them anymore. It's maybe why we give out coffee mugs in Eric's hand or to other people, right?
It's
but
true.
but the reality is, you kind of got to find those things for yourself. And if you're just always trying something new, then that's fine. But understand that there is going to be that learning curve. And so if you can get into something that can be your core decorating thing that you do, then you're going to have a lot more success with it because you get a lot more
Also,
efficient.
if there exists a jig, think really hard about how much it costs because most of the time it's going to help. If
Yeah.
there are assistive technologies, whether this is embroidery hooping, I know for us another one we did dog tags, and it we got a template that holds them all in place and puts them where they're supposed to be
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
100%, I would never do a dog tag without that.
Yeah.
There's no way I would do a full 12 up or whatever of dog tags, and it was more than that. I can't remember how many were up. It was a fairly large sheet of dog tags. I
Yeah.
would never do those
Yeah.
without that
And
assistive technology,
yeah. And think
without the
about this though
grid.
too. Then, a lot of people, lasers are becoming more and more part of a
Yeah,
decorator's
yeah,
toolbox, right?
true.
So you could make your own jigs. In
No,
a lot
yeah,
of
I kind of wish
cases, you
that
could get some. I think if you think about that, like I made
we
a whole
had
bunch of
people
little
here who do it. Yeah.
poker chip things, and to
Hmm.
sit there and tape each one of them down onto the paper. Oh my god, I'm never going to be done with
Cut,
this.
yeah, cut a half height jig
And if you
out of
could have
like
just, yeah,
cardstock or
put that and
something.
just laid
Yeah,
those in there, put the
so
sheet
that they
married
just
up to
slide
it.
in.
Oh, that would have
It
been cool.
does help, even if you are going to adhere stuff.
Now I have to
Having
get a
just
laser.
having placements. I know I want one so bad. I don't want to talk about it. I don't know because with my new focus on making patches all the time and a lot of patch
Uh-huh.
stuff that I've done, oh, I just want a laser cutter to do my patch blanks.
Yeah,
But hey, that's
there you
just me.
go. There you go. Cindy says
Can't justify it yet.
it's like printing koozies. Thankfully, someone invented a sweet board to load 6 at a time.
There we
Um,
go. Like I
yeah.
said, jigs and associated stuff. That's like people who are now asking about catbacks. We hooped all of our catbacks and keyholes, that archway over the top. We hooped those all flat for years, but there are now cylindrical frames that are very easy to use, clamps for the
Hmm.
back of hats, and I've seen people making great use of them.
Cool.
If that's something you're doing all the time, think about how much time you're spending fiddling with getting something hooped, and look at the options. Same thing with magnetic hoops. Magnetic hoops are expensive per head, of course they are, but man, do they make a difference to your overall tension all the way around the hoop, especially if you're constantly adjusting or using different stabilizers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all about knowing what kind of investment you have in time and in effort into getting something right. But
Yep.
Aaron's right too, dialing it in. You got to dial
Yep.
it in.
Dialing in.
It's just the truth.
All right. Little short amount of time. Talk to us about the take up here, Eric. People are
Okay,
going to be
take up
there, so what
today.
can they expect?
You can expect me to go over two of kind of the core videos that people kind of refer to when they ask me stuff, which is the pillars of good digitizing and the pitfalls that digitizers fall into. I'm going to take a look back at those original pillars and pitfalls videos and update some of the stuff that I talked about with new insights that I've gained in the last couple of years, and just talk about that subject again because I've had a lot of people, funny enough, a lot of new digitizers coming on, folks. There are
Yeah.
people in the space, lots of new digitizers coming on and wanting to create their own stuff, wanting to get involved, get their hands dirty, and they want to know what are the things I need to know and what should I avoid. So we'll be
Yeah.
talking about all of that stuff today on the Take Up.
Awesome. All right. So you're going to be digging into that. You got that
Yep.
happening.
And
All
you
right.
tonight?
So tonight, wrapping up the 5 keys.
Yep.
Tomorrow, Small Business Skills Summit happening at 8
Nice.
p.m. So osg.link/s small what was it? Skills Summit, I think is what it was. Anyhow, all right, Eric, give us the one thing that maybe you won't share on the half though.
If I had one secret. Are you kidding? There's nothing I won't share on the show. I share everything.
How do you talk for an hour and a half to 2 hours? Yeah.
By
that was a little
saying all of
staged,
it.
guys. Sorry about that. Have a great day, everybody.
Catch you later, folks.